The words of Jane Austen were written over 2 centuries ago, but her timeless tales have inspired not only readers, but filmmakers as well. From Emma Thompson's Sense and Sensibility to Gwyneth Paltrow's Emma, the adaptations of Jane Austen's novels have enchanted fans for decades. We are unlocking the ET Vault to take a look at our time with some of those casts. From behind-the-scenes moments to rarely seen interviews, this is Jane Austen on Screen. Perhaps Jane Austen's most notable work is that of Pride and Prejudice. With the compelling Bennet family and the swoon-worthy Mr. Darcy, it is no wonder the novel and its many adaptations have been adored by generations of fans. And one of the most beloved is the 2005 film, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary this year. Let's take a look.
I have fought against my better judgment, my family's expectation, the inferiority of your birth, my rank and circumstance, all these things, and I'm willing to put them aside and ask you to end my agony.
I don't understand.
I love you. There were certain scenes I loved playing, and I thought that was the essence of, there was the scene in the rain when he proposes to Elizabeth. I thought that was a great scene. I loved doing it.
That is my favourite scene in the film. It was my favourite scene to do, and I love it. And it's because it's difficult, because what you've got basically is Elizabeth Bennet saying, no, I completely hate you. Mr. Darcy saying, I love you and will you marry me, but you're awful and your family's awful. And yet you've got this incredible sexual chemistry. There's tension between both of them. So it was an interesting thing to kind of navigate your way through.
From the first moment I met you, your arrogance and conceit, your selfish disdain for the feelings of others made me realize that you were the last man in the world I could ever be prevailed upon to marry.
What was interesting was actually the first time Matthew and I read it was at the audition, and it wasn't in the script that we'd nearly kiss and then not. It was just something that naturally happened in the audition, and everybody around the table went, oh, that's perfect. So it was one of those really nice moments of just two people who we knew our characters really well, and it just melted together really nicely, and Joe was just like, right, do it, go for it, which was great.
Mr. Darcy?
Miss Elizabeth?
He absolutely took our breath away. It was really funny because, there was a lot of girls on this movie, and we got really close. We all got really close, all the guys and all the girls. But as soon as any of the guys put their costume on, we couldn't speak. We slightly melted. It's terribly romantic. And I do think that Matthew is the ultimate Darcy. It's the thing about him is he's a big guy. He really is. He's a big bloke. And I think a lot of the time in cinema today, we go for quite an androgynous look in our leading men, which is lovely, which is great, but it is really nice to have that kind of truly man's man. And he's so vulnerable as well, which is such a romantic combination. So yeah, I melted every time.
You have bewitched me, body and soul, and I love you. Chemistry is just when you work together well, and you're telling the story well. And she's fantastic. She was a delight, and she's brilliant. She's made Lizzie her own. So it was very easy and very. It was very sort of. It was fantastic doing the scenes together. She's a star in the true sense of the word. She's a fantastic actress. She's unpretentious, unassuming, and she's great. She's good fun.
You may only call me Mrs. Darcy when you are completely and perfectly and incandescently happy.
And how are you this evening, Mrs. Darcy? I haven't seen any other versions, so I was a little bit daunted because I knew about the whole Darcy thing. One of those roles. But no, I thought the script was so good, and I thought it was a great part. I just threw my hat to the ring.
I've been in love with this book since I was about 7. I had it on book tape and I used to listen to it, and absolutely. And I think one of the things about the book is if you're a woman and you read it and you love it, then you see yourself as Elizabeth Bennet. But I was also addicted to the TV miniseries when it came out. And I was terrified when I accepted the role that actually I'd just do a copy of Jennifer Ely's performance of Elizabeth Bennet. And it was actually my mum that said to me, listen, if you read the book again, you will see Elizabeth Bennet as yourself, and it'll be completely impossible to do a copy of anyone else's performance. And she's absolutely right. I mean, I think this is a character that anyone can relate to. There are parts of her that you go, yes, that's me, that's definitely me, I get that. And so, I don't know, it was just a question of taking a very beautiful character and trying to be as truthful with it as possible.
Mr. Darcy?
Miss Bennet.
The 1995 miniseries of Pride and Prejudice has been deemed a cultural phenomenon that has, of course, a lasting influence on the genre. But the first ever feature film adaptation of the cherished novel came in 1940 with Greer Garson and Laurence Olivier as the enemies to lovers and Maureen O'Sullivan as the oldest Bennet sister, Jane.
And sometimes we're dancing, and it's the waltz, Lizzie. And the music's playing, and the lights are shining, and oh, it feels as if it could go on forever.
I enjoyed it very much. Yes, I did. It was at the time that my husband had just gone into the service. So I was depressed at the beginning of it. And Greer was awfully nice. We became very good friends.
Oh no, it's I who should be ashamed of my arrogance, of my stupid pride, of all except one thing. One thing. I'm not ashamed of having loved you.
I thought he was superb in the film. I thought it was classic. It was just classic performance. I loved it. I loved to watch it, whether I was in any scenes with him or not, I forgot. See, when the picture came out, not much was thought of it at the time. And as you say, there are certain pictures that are remembered and certain ones aren't. And this is one that plays a lot.
Coming up.
Well, I was just a bit intimidated, you know, when we all sat down to do the first read-through and the whole assembled British cast was there, I thought, I must be insane to be attempting this.
Jane Austen's novel Emma has been adapted many times over the years, with Gwyneth Paltrow to Anya Taylor-Joy taking on the titular character.
The most incomprehensible thing in the world to a man is a woman who rejects his offer of marriage.
I do not comprehend it because it is madness.
I jumped on it immediately. I thought, this is just too good to be true, a role like this. It was, I jumped on it immediately, and then of course when I got to England, I thought, this is a little daunting, but it turned out to be one of the best experiences I've ever had.
I shall be sure to say 3 very dull things as soon as I open my mouth, shan't I? There may be a difficulty.
Oh, I doubt that. I'm sure I never fail to say things very dull.
Yes, dear, but you will be limited as to number, only 3.
You know, I thought initially, I can do this, you know, this won't be a problem. And then I got there and I thought, well, I was just a bit intimidated, you know, when we all sat down to do the first read-through and the whole assembled British cast was there, I thought, I must be insane to be attempting this. But I just worked very hard at it, and I worked with my dialect coach every morning. We just went over and over the scenes so that it was very much ingrained in my mouth and in my ear, and I didn't have to worry about it once I got in front of the camera. Intellectually, the idea of an American girl portraying this, you know, beloved English heroine, I think that they were a bit up in arms about it at first, but the cast was so supportive, and they were really lovely, and, you know, they really were encouraging, and they made me feel very safe and very able to proceed.
You have shown yourself a fine dancer despite all your protests, and it should not be improper for us to dance.
Well, I think that it's not a costume piece. It's a really funny, sweet, sometimes sad, romantic comedy, or drama, or film, or both, or all. And it just happens to be set in 1816 in rural England.
For dearest, you will always be my dearest, most beloved Emma. Tell me at once. I cannot make speeches. If I loved you less, then I might be able to talk about it more.
We formed a very easy friendship kind of instantly. I think the majority of people in my life that I really connect with, it happens in a second, and you know, your relationship is sort of set from that moment on, and you only ever get closer. I love working with Jane.
Yeah, we became great friends very quickly, and Anya was the first person in the cast that I met. I came in, she was already cast, and I came in to do a kind of chemistry read with her, and we were doing, one of the big argument scenes. And I just remember immediately going into it, I was very nervous because they feel quite technically difficult because it's just like they're talking over each other. And
yeah.
What are Harriet Smith's claims, either of birth, nature, or education, to any connection higher than Robert Martin? She is the natural daughter of nobody knows who. Probably no separate relation.
With her, immediately, just energetically, there was this symbiosis that I felt very at home in, and that reflects obviously the relationship in the story. So it was a safe place to be with her.
Yeah.
To have you now, in thoughtless spirits and the pride of the moment, laugh at her and humble her, and before her niece, and before others, many of whom are entirely guided by your treatment of her, it was badly done indeed.
Jane Austen said before she wrote the novel, I'm going to create a hero who nobody will much like except myself. Which is slightly untrue, because I think right from the beginning I do anyway, I love her dynamism and her wit and her intelligence. And it follows her in this society that she lives in this made-up village. And it is basically a social comedy tragedy as it follows her on her journey. And then there's my character Knightley is kind of lives in the big estate in the village, and he is in love with her, and they have this brother-sister relationship, and so what should be obvious is hiding in plain sight, and it's not so obvious to them, and they take a while to realise, what could be good for them.
It's a whole bunch of different love stories and the many shapes that love takes.
Coming up.
I'm perfectly well aware that I have entirely plagiarised one of the world's greatest novelists, and I agree with Faye Weldon. I know it's called adaptation, but it's plagiarism, Leonard. We've got to face it.
Emma Thompson not only starred in Sense and Sensibility, but she also adapted the screenplay, with the script going on to win the actress her second Oscar.
I have endured her exaltation again and again, whilst knowing myself to be divided from Edward forever. Believe me, Marianne, had I not been bound to silence, I could have produced proof enough of a broken heart, even for you.
To the average Joe, American moviegoer, Sense and Sensibility, the name may not mean very much. The name Jane Austen may not mean very much. But one of the things that struck me and people around me about this movie is how contemporary it seems and how fresh. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because she was a genius, and therefore what she wrote about was universal and something that it's only 200 years ago after all, which is sort of 10 minutes really. I mean, we make such a fuss about this whole sort of period thing. People say, it's a period piece, and it's just slightly different costumes and slightly different manners, but the human beings are the same. I mean, and the way in which they behave is very much the same, and we found it very interesting when we were previewing the picture. Families would come and they would react absolutely in the moment. It wasn't like you're sitting there watching these people in strange outfits going through the motions of a life that you cannot relate to. It's entirely modern somehow, those problems of, love, falling in love, being jilted, working out how you're going to survive financially, whether you're going to be able to get married, whether that's going to help you survive financially or not, whether you're going to sort of move towards the shelf screaming all the way. It is remarkably contemporary, surprising.
You talk of feeling idle and useless. Imagine how that is compounded when one has no hope and no choice of any occupation whatsoever.
I'm perfectly well aware that I have entirely plagiarised one of the world's greatest novelists, you know, and I
No, it's
agree
called
with Faye Weldon. I think it's, I know it's called adaptation, but it's
adaptation
plagiarism, Leonard. We've got to face it. It is. You're nicking someone else's story and making a film out of it. And that's okay in the sense, I hope it will bring people to see that you know, she's one of the greats and she's very, very funny. And I hope that in the same way as a lot of Shakespeare films bring people to Shakespeare, and especially in school and stuff, that it'll bring a lot of people to Austen.
That my heart is and always will be yours.
I noticed in your little journal that you congratulated yourself for arranging for you to kiss Hugh Grant.
Yeah, because there's no kissing in the books. There's no kissing in the film now, actually, because we've cut that. But at least I got to kiss him, which was great. Well, Hugh and I have worked together twice before, and we've never worked opposite each other. And I asked Hugh I wrote Edward for Hugh. And I just knew that he would be brilliant in it. And I arranged a reading of the script about 2 years ago, when it was in, you know, a particular stage, and I wanted to hear it. So I asked Hugh if he'd read Edward. I said, please, you know, I'd really like you to do it. And he said, he's very self-deprecating, as you know. He was like, oh, all right, you know, are you sure? And I said, yes, no, absolutely, you'll be brilliant. So he read it and he was fantastic. And I said, if this ever gets made, you will play him, won't you? Please play him. And he said, of course I will, don't be ridiculous. And then Four Weddings and a Funeral came out, and I thought, oh, well, you know, this man's more famous than God now, so he's never going to do it. But he did, and I was so grateful to him for having kept his. He was fantastically expensive, but there you go. When we started this 5 years ago, there wasn't another Austen project on the horizon. And suddenly, you know, there's Persuasion and Pride and Prejudice was on the television in England, and they're making a version of Emma at the moment. And indeed, there was that modern version of Emma,
exactly,
Clueless,
yeah.
which was absolutely fabulous, I thought.
Coming up.
She's controlling, but not in a bad way. She's a very positive girl. Everything goes her way. Nothing could go wrong.
Austen's works have inspired many direct adaptations, but some of the most memorable have been those with a slightly different twist.
Margaret.
Background, action.
It's not even 8:30 and Murray is paging me. He is so possessive.
Cher's a very happy girl. She's happy, very unusual. And she goes around trying to please everybody, and she just has that, she's very motherly nature to take everybody under her wing, and she's controlling, but not in a bad way. She's a very positive girl. Everything goes her way. Nothing could go wrong.
Hey, baby, what's
get
happening?
away from me!
Oh,
Get
you're
away!
okay.
As if!
The unique thing about Cher, it's different from any one person I've ever met. Because as I grew up, I did not like these kind of girls. I could not stand them. It was so hard for me to even pick up, like, to get into this character, because something I've always hated, being so, like, down to earth and normal. And then all these girls, I grew up in a nice area, and all these girls had everything, and they're very, very, and I knew all those kind of girls, one in particular. But one thing they don't have, which Cher does, is the solid 100% pure good heart and, like, happiness. Just a general, always happy, which is so unique, because who's always happy? So Cher is, until finally a few things don't go her way, and then she's a little bit upset. But
Oh my god, I'm totally bugging.
I've heard so many things about you, Darcy. I really can't seem to figure you out.
Well, maybe you shouldn't listen to everything you hear.
You should talk. After all the rubbish you said about arranged marriages, I can't believe your mother's arranging yours.
I was instantly happy to get the chance to essay a role like Lizzie from the original. Lalitha is... Thank you. Lalitha is feisty, she's strong, she's opinionated, very proud of where she comes from, and I related to her, so I was instantly happy to be part of this movie. I was very happy and proud to bring a part of my world, my industry, up to this part of the world. And this being my first English movie, it was just the perfect combination of presenting my culture, presenting a part of my industry, and yet doing it in your language. So it was wonderful.
I liked using a sword and a dagger.
In this reimagining of the classic novel, it's the gals, not the guys, who save the day.
It's pretty rare to A, be like the female hero of the film, and B, we get to save all the boys and the world, and you know, what's not to love?
We felt so united and so strong and just like total badasses.
The film stars British actress Lily James of Downton Abbey and Cinderella fame, and Australian actress Bella Heathcote as the zombie-slaying Bennett sisters.
I shall never relinquish my sword for a ring.
Clearly, you can't have a Jane Austen film without a little romance. So what's it like dating in a zombie apocalypse?
I think it kind of makes it better. Because it's like everything could be the last.
I mean, probably be good in real life, a bit of perspective, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you can text me back, well, I'm gonna die, so.
Can you imagine everyone be like, see ya, Emma? Yeah.
Sadly, that is it for Jane Austen on screen. My carriage awaits, but you shouldn't go anywhere because we have more great content coming up right here on ET.